Your dream reality exists right now. So if you're not experiencing it, this video is going to show you the 3 things that could be blocking you from having it. Carl Jung said, until you make conscious what is unconscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate. So this video is going to help you become aware of what you are doing energetically that is beyond your awareness. The more you're able to understand and shift these dynamics, the more you'll understand how to use your energy to tap into the reality you really want to live in. I'm going to be sharing with you practical steps that you can start right now. The more you understand this, the more you can start empowering yourself and start tapping into that ideal version of you now. So let's get started. The first thing to understand is that you do not see your reality right now with your eyes. You see it with your mind, and your mind has been conditioned or programmed based on your past. So even though the situation has already happened, you continue to project it onto the canvas of your reality, meaning that your current and your future is simply replaying the past. So for example, I had perceptual biases that no matter what, people were going to abandon me, as well as I had to earn my worth. So even though there were situations outside of me that would disprove this, all I could perceive of with my senses is that I was going to be abandoned and that I had to earn my worth. So I worked really hard as an athlete and I tried really, really hard to be people's heroes so they wouldn't leave me and I would have worth. And no matter where I looked, no matter what, all I could see is this, me casting out my past, my beliefs onto the canvas of reality, and all I could pick up on was what aligned with my beliefs. The first step in this was to become aware of these perceptual biases, these filters, so that I could actually start to perceive with my senses what was actually available to me. My perceptual bias for abandonment was world class. No matter if it was with my friends, but more intensely with romantic relationships, if somebody didn't call me back, if somebody didn't text, it had been a couple more hours than usual, I would assume that something happened with our relationship. Is everything okay? I would get panicked. Anxiety would fill my body. And I would just become hyper fixated on what I did. Maybe they met somebody else. Maybe I said or did something, scrolling through the text messages, trying to figure out what had happened because I was perceiving, Neville Goddard would say, I was assuming that this person was about to leave me or that they were distancing themselves because I had done something wrong. As I started to be aware of that perceptual bias, that filter, I could start in the moment becoming aware, oh, I'm telling the old story. I'm assuming that it's about me. What do I know right now? I don't know anything. I know that I'm having a trigger, so I'm going to start breathing and trying to relax my nervous system, and I'm going to take that energy that was going to be outside of me and I'm going to bring it back to me. I'm going to focus on my energy. I'm going to ask myself, how can I take care of myself in this moment? And I'm going to go do maybe something creative. Maybe I'll go for a walk to let this energy out. Maybe I'll go work out. I'm not trying to repress it, but I'm trying to be aware and make a new choice in that moment. This is how you can shift out of those perceptions being consuming and dictating your life. Until you become aware of those perceptions, you'll only find what is in alignment with those beliefs. And where do perceptions even come from? Well, early on in your environment, you were vulnerable and you were basically had to outsource your authority. This adult caregiver could be a grandparent, parent, somebody, could be multiple people. They had the capacity to literally keep you alive. So whoever you had to be, it could be about you leaving your needs, that when you were outgoing, they told you that's really wrong, that's selfish. You're just trying to get attention. Okay, so you suppressed yourself and you abandoned that to go to them so that you could literally survive. Understandable. So maybe you learned, I'm too much who I am, so I better push that down and not really be me. So you'll have that perception that I'm too much. In your filter, you'll see, oh, look, I'm too much. Everywhere you look around you, oh, look, I'm too much. You won't even literally be able to perceive of people who would celebrate you and your authenticity. You'll block that out because it doesn't align with your self-image, who you assume yourself, who you see yourself to be, your internal thermostat. It aligns with those perceptual filters. And maybe this adult caretaker was emotionally unavailable, so you thought, if I was worthy, then they would be there emotionally for me. Then they would meet my needs. But since they don't, It must be my fault. I'm responsible for this dynamic, and it's because I'm unworthy. As a kid, we are not good at reasoning, but if you don't go back and look at what's in your perceptional bias, what early on beliefs, what you could be accepted, you'll continue to cascade and project those old beliefs onto the canvas of reality, and you'll be like, look, I knew it. Look at this person's leaving me. This person really doesn't love me. If they did, then they wouldn't leave me. But all I'm seeing is through the filters of what I believe to be true. As you start to become aware of the filters you're looking through, that's when you can actually have an ability to make a new choice in that moment. For me, starting to understand I'm actually rejecting myself in this moment. That ideal version of me is emotionally available to myself, feels whole and complete, knows their worth, knows they're lovable. And as I started to realize that and be in that energy, it allowed me to start perceiving of different opportunities that were available to me now, because I was seeing through literally a different brain. Every time I made a new choice in that moment and chose to not reject myself, to stay with myself, it actually began to change my brain. The power of neuroplasticity, that ability to then begin to see, because again, you see with your mind. So if you have a new mind, you can actually see something new and start to become aware of it. Because you shifted energetically, you're starting to be able to draw to you and align with that ideal reality you want to live in. For me, I was able to then draw to me a loving, secure relationship that echoed and reflected back to me emotional availability, consistency, showing me that I'm worthy, showing me that I'm deserving, because I started to change and be that version of me by realizing those perceptions early on and shifting to how I related to that early on self-image. Because outsourcing your sense of safety makes it dependent that this person outside of you has to show you something different for you to feel different. So what you got to do is take back your authority, realize, oh no, I have the ability to validate myself. I can actually see myself different. I don't need other people's permission. The second thing that could be blocking you from that ideal reality is understanding that only one energy can be dominant. Either the old version of you and the electromagnetic signature that's sending out, or the new version of you and that electromagnetic signature. So if your old self-image has to do with feeling like you have no worth, or there's a lot of shame based on early on dynamics as a child, your thoughts and your feelings are what is going to be creating that toroidal field around you. So again, with the perceptions, that's what you'll see, and the energetics are going to draw to you situations that perpetuate this, that basically prove it. Or you could be the new version of you. Maybe that's about feeling deserving, feeling lovable, feeling worthy. This you is going to have different thoughts and different feelings, because this is one belief system and this is another one. Now, what happens, why this could be blocking you, is people think of this, but they're still over here energetically. So they're thinking how wonderful this would be so that they don't feel these, rather than starting to release these by re-reasoning on the situations why you even believe that to be true. If a caretaker was not emotionally available to you, that was not a reflection of you being unlovable or unworthy. That's a reflection of them and their lack of emotional capacity. If you can see that differently, that it had nothing to do with you, because there's a lot of confusion when it comes to traumatic events in terms of who was responsible. The more you can let go by realizing it was not, that you were not responsible for how you were treated, that can help you shift over. But if you keep thinking, maybe you spend some time meditating and visualizing, journaling, and you're here and it feels great, and then life comes up and you have a situation that stresses you out, or you look at your bank account and there's not a lot of money. You're like, geez, I'm never going to get out of this. This over here, it exists for other people, but not me. Rather than saying, okay, my circumstances are an echoed mirror of my energy. So I have to start tapping into how would this version of me respond to the stressful situation I'm in now. The more you retell the stories of where you've been, onto your current situation and interpret every situation is neutral, but if you interpret it through the stories of the past, it creates your present, which is simply your future. The more you start tapping into this energy now, so it's your dominant energy, and dealing with situations now with your future energy, the more you can shift over to that ideal version of you being your dominant energy, which eventually will be showed to you in your outside circumstances. The third thing that could be blocking you from shifting into that desired reality is not understanding who you actually need to be. And what do I mean by that? Meaning that you're very aware of what beliefs you have right now, and you're very aware of the circumstances those beliefs create. Okay. But when it comes to thinking of the ideal version of you, you're thinking of what that version of you will experience, meaning that this version of you will have abundance with money. This version of you will have that ideal relationship. This version of you would have that new job, whatever it is you're wanting to shift to. But who do you need to be? Thoughts and feelings, foundation of that being your beliefs or assumptions. What would this person believe about themselves? What would they assume to be true for them? If you just think of that ideal relationship or having the money, you're missing where your power can be applied, because everything is about energy. And your life right now is reflecting back a certain energetic. The more you start to understand who you'll need to be in order to experience that reality, the more you can start actually making the shift from this version of you to this version of you. And in my situation, my big thing was I wanted a loving, secure relationship. Well, this version of me thought everyone was going to abandon me. And I had to start becoming aware that that ideal version of me, I had to be emotionally available to myself. I had to value myself. I had to validate. I had to care about my experience and learn to understand my needs, meet them on my own, as well as ask for them to be met. So that version of me started to see that this is what creates that secure, loving relationship. That it's not me assuming I'm going to be abandoned. It's me tapping into my own emotional experience. I wanted to feel like a priority and that I was valuable. I had to prioritize myself first and value myself. That is what this version of me, that person, needed to be energetically. So how can you start tapping into, okay, money is the expression, it's the effect, but who is the person? What thoughts and feelings will I have to have? The more you start to focus on who you need to be, the thoughts and the feelings, you can start creating that person, then you can start taking action in the world as that version of you. And then with those experiences that you have by taking action as that ideal version of you, you'll get experience. Then you can use that experience to create more clarity on how to be this version of you. And then you'll have more confidence. It'll start feeling more natural. And then you can start shifting and being that version of you right now. The more you do this, the more and more you create energetic momentum in the reality that you're wanting to be in, which means then your circumstances would begin to reflect this version of you. I want to break down on how you can start to believe it before you see it. This next video right here is going to break it down. Thank you so much for watching. I love y'all. If you like the video, click like. If you haven't done so already, join this community, and I will see you on the next one.